Hello, my friends. Welcome to Melissa's Musings. We're talking about a topic that I absolutely love, reading. Some of you might be signing on wondering what the heck I'm doing. I'm dancing, as Melissa does. Oh, hey, Rish. Told you I was going to be on my musing. You decided to come and watch. Yeah. So we're talking about reading today, and reading has always played a really important part in my life. I have learned so much from reading, and I would attribute reading a few different things to reading. One, my love of books and deep appreciation for the written word. And by that I do not mean the Bible, although that is also a good book. Two, my writing skills, I think, were definitely what's the word I'm looking for? Not curated, but definitely it really helped my writing skills, reading a bunch of different books. And then third, the knowledge and the wisdom that has come from reading so many books, just the experience from other people, not having to live through it myself, but to really truly understand what somebody went through and the struggles that they experienced, and kind of like that hero's journey that we so often forget about when we look at these heroes in our life, like the Jeff Bezos and the Steve Jobs. All of those individuals were just like, oh, these gods. However, are we taking into account the journey, the hero's journey that it took to get from point A to B to C to D to Z, where that person is at now? We don't often do those things. So reading really gives us a unique opportunity and insight into somebody's life that we wouldn't have otherwise had the opportunity to experience. So I love reading. I'm going to start off with a little story. Story time on Mel's Musing, as some of you trickle on in here. And this is a great story. So for those of you watching on the replay, I encourage you to hear the extent of this story. It's fantastic. So as a kid, in hindsight, I actually recognized that my reading habits were twofold. One, a very positive aspect of my childhood, loved to read. And then two, a little bit of an obsessive aspect of my childhood. I feel like it was definitely in reflection and in hindsight and kind of working through a lot of my shit over the last few years. I've recognized that reading was definitely an escape mechanism for me. I would take my book, hide in my closet, and be in a totally different world behind the cover of that book. So a little bit of a coping mechanism. However, it does not discount the fact that I have always, always, always loved to read in a bit of an obsessive and freakish nature. I have really enjoyed reading. So let me tell you a little story about the summer reading program. As a kid, I loved the library. I still love the library. For anybody that does not have a library card out there, please consider this your public service announcement to go support your community and go support yourself by going to get a library card. I freaking love the library. It's like God's gift to the planet. So anyways, love the library from a very young age. Spend a lot of time there. I obsessively loved books, and I loved books so much that I started just reading them. I just digested books. I was reading 2 to 3 books a day. And we're talking relatively thick Nancy Drews here. This isn't children's books. So I read through every children's book at the library. And then I worked my way to the young adult section, which was my jam, because that's where I feel the little love stories were. And Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys and all of my favorites. And so I obsessively started to read through the whole young adult section to the point where I literally read every book at the library. And then I started to move on to the adult section with mother-approved books. For example, Mary Higgins Clark. Although in hindsight, Mom, I don't know if that was the best choice, because I was literally reading about murder mysteries at a very young age. However, was a very big fan of Mary Higgins Clark as soon as I was old enough to read the books. So, obsessively read, loved reading, literally read every single book at my go-to library, to the point where I would walk in, they'd be like, hey, Melissa. Of course, we were on a name-by-name basis. This is me here, you guys. You see what happens when I get obsessed with something. This was no different, and 12-year-old Melissa status. So they'd be like, hey, Melissa. And on the front desk would be the new books that they had gotten in the last week. And they'd be like, we have new books for you. Here you go. And I would always get exclusive first access to the new books at the library, because I was such a little freak. So, loved that experience. The first year that I was able to and eligible to sign up for the summer reading contest, I was like, yes, like I'm gonna crush this reading contest. I did. No, so I literally, the way that it worked was, it was a tricky tray. So for each book that you read, if it was like a kid's book or like an easy read, you got 1 ticket. And if it was like a chapter book, you got 1 ticket for every 50 pages that you read of that book. So at this point, I'm like reading Nancy Drew's, I'm like reading Hardy Boys, and these books are like, 150, 200 pages long, like they're my jam. So I am getting like ticket after ticket. I like literally, I'll go to the library every couple days and I'll be like, I give them my reading list and I'm like, oh my God, I read 15 books since Wednesday and I'm here for more tickets, and I'd get like 20 tickets. So here I am collecting like a hoarder my tickets over the entire summer. And I'm like collecting them to the point where it's excessive. Like my reading list, that summer I read over 500 books. So I like made it my number 1 goal. I literally worked at the snack bar at the zoo. I was like reading behind the counter in all my downtime. I literally have memories of being in Long Island and having my mom be like, Melissa, you want to come to the beach? And I was like literally up in my bunk bed. I had the high bunk bed. And I was like, no, frantically like turning pages, like determined to win every ticket. I'm sure this isn't surprising to you guys. If this is not a surprising Melissa move, please let me know in the comments. So anyways, I'm reading all summer long. I'm like so excited about this reading contest. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna win everything. So we show up to the end of summer reading contest, and Mom, I would love your experience of this in the comments below, because I only have like my 12-year-old experience and I don't know if it's true, but I remember you as mortified and very embarrassed. So I would like clarification on if that's actually true. So I show up for the reading contest and I literally have my baggie of tickets, and this shit is like full. We're talking like a baggie of tickets. Like this is a hefty freaking bag, you guys. I've worked all summer for this bag of tickets and I'm like ready to go shopping. So the library has transformed into an absolute like tricky tray situation. And for those of you who have never played a tricky tray situation, it's a prize with a little cup in front of it, and you put your tickets in the cup and you like hope to all the gods that your ticket is chosen out of the little container, right? So I've got like my 500 tickets. I'm like all stoked. It's probably even more than 500 tickets. And I start to like peruse the prizes, and there's a lot of good ones and there's a lot of prizes. I remember there being like over 100 prizes, and we're talking little prizes like some stuffed animals, some books. Those were the ideal prizes. Some like a bunch of donations, some gift cards, all that fun stuff. So I start looking around and I put tickets in the ones I really want. And then I start looking and I start getting strategic. And I'm like, here's a stuffed animal and there's like only 1 ticket in here. If I put in 2 tickets, my odds are real good. So I start watching everybody else play the tricky tray, and I start to play the tricky tray. And I got a baggie full of tickets, you guys. I am like ready. So I start like placing tickets in not only the things that I wanted, but in freaking everything. I start placing tickets. I'm like literally a 40-year-old at the casino. This is me at this tricky tray. So here I am. I've worked all summer for these tickets, and I'm like frisky with these tickets. And so I finally finish. Everybody puts their tickets away, and everybody sits on the floor of the library, and they start going to draw the prizes, and all the librarians are up at the front. My mom's sitting next to me. My sister and brother are there. They read some books, but definitely didn't get as many tickets as I did. And it's like, they draw the ticket from the first prize. Melissa Grotus. And I'm like, ooh, I won. So I run up, get my prize. Second box. Melissa Grotus. I'm like real stoked. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this is working magnificently. Third one. Melissa Grotus. Well, literally, Mom, I would love your recollection of this memory, because literally I feel like 20 prizes in, my mother is mortified, as I would be if I had children that did this at the reading contest. My mom is mortified. I have this growing pile of prizes next to me that I am just giddy about. My sister and brother are like, wait, can we have the stuffed animals? Like, you're winning all the prizes. And this is me. I'm like, this is like everything I've ever hoped and dreamed for. I swept the contest. literally, I would be surprised if 10 other children walked away with a prize, because I literally walked away with an entire car full of prizes, and I felt as though my hard reading summer, although not that hard of work, I was very eager to do it, was like, the return on my investment was so positive. I was like, look at all of my things. And my mom was mortified, and no one wanted to play with Melissa. They were like, this chick is a freak. And everybody else left sad. That's not the point of the story. Next summer reading contest comes around, and I'm like all excited. I'm like real stoked to sign up. I'm like, first one in line at the library. I'm like, I hear there's a reading contest. They literally put, here's the counter, here's the gift card. The librarian's like, oh, we decided you already won the contest. We bought you a gift card. Here you go, sweetheart. You just won. You don't get to participate. And I was like, what? And I was so sad. For one, not being able to participate in the reading contest, but two, I think they reevaluated the tricky tray completely to combat little freaks like me. But the point of that story is that I've always had a very bizarre but intimate love of reading. I went, after high school, I probably went, I don't know, almost 7 years without reading a book. I was just really over it. I kind of went through this period of time where I was like, and I think that this is really where the coping mechanism comes out to play, because through high school and through middle school, as my parents' relationship became a little bit more tumultuous, my reading became almost an obsessive way to escape. So instead of like doing drugs or like out drinking with my friends, I was in my room reading, transporting myself to other places. So I went a very long period of time without even touching a book. When I moved, I got rid of a lot of my books. I was like, fuck these things. I'm over reading. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And didn't even realize it then that I had been, using reading as kind of like a negative aspect. But recently, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I had the thought to myself, and I was like, I used to really love reading, and I don't make any time for that right now. And I put it on my goal sheet. Last week's episode on Daily Musings is about goal sheets, if you guys want to go and rewatch. But I put it on my goal sheet, and I literally like wrote it out. And I think my goal the first year was like 6 books, so like 1 every 2 months. And I didn't hit it. I didn't hit my reading goal the first year. I want to say I read 1, and I was like, like I could take it or leave it. But I continued to make the time, and I like really had this desire. I wanted to read. And I kept coming up with these bullshit stories like, oh, you don't have the time, or you're so busy. No. For those of you that know me, you know that I am never too busy for the things that I want to do in life, and there is no such thing as not having enough time. Like, I literally have the same amount of time as Beyonce, and she is freaking crushing it. So that's a bullshit story. I get to, like, anytime I have it. So I really became committed to my reading goals, and I made them more aggressive. Last year, I was committed to reading 12 books, and I crushed that goal. I think I hit 14, which was like about 1 a month, so felt really good about that. This year, I have the goal of, I should have checked this before I came on. I want to say it's 30, because I'm on pace right now of reading about 3 a month. And what has been really awesome is like last month, when I was really refocusing on my habits, getting into bed at an earlier time, really incorporating reading into my schedule and creating the time for it, I read 5 books. 5. And they were really awesome books. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I'm in the middle of reading The Everything Store, which is just so fascinating. Highly recommend. Just a variety of really fantastic books. And it really made me think about how important books have been in my life, how influential they have been to me in particular, and how many people that I know in my life who literally don't read 1 page over the entire course of a year. Ooh, Risha, good question. Are you reading fiction for fun also, or is it just books on growth? Great question. This year, I have set the goal of 12 personal development, 12 fiction just for fun, and 12 anything. Like, it could be spiritual, because I'm kind of into like Reiki or like healing. Like, I want to learn more about those things. So, Risha, I have a few really good suggestions for you for the fiction. Yeah, and honestly, I make it a point to read more fiction, because I feel like very easily as a business owner, it's easy for me to pick up a business book and be like, oh, I should read this, or like, oh, this could be really great for our business. Another great one that I just recently read for business was Never Split the Difference. Would highly recommend Riche, especially in our business. Such a good book, Never Split the Difference. And that one's all about like strategy and negotiation. But some really good reads. And I actually I'll post in the comments. I follow this girl online. Her name is Erica, but she goes by Fashion Lush. And she just recently did like a Fashion Lush best reads. Like Gone Girl is a great one. Have you read that one, Riche? Yes, I've been reading a lot more books for pleasure. But really, as I started to think about how important and impactful my reading goal has been really like in my life, but most recently in learning and also disconnecting, because one of my goals is like fun and more time for disconnection. So Risha, that's exactly why I was really committed to creating the goal of like diversifying in the books that I was reading and really embracing the fiction and like the fun books too. Oh, I love Harry Potter. I don't know if Harry Potter is one that you've read, Risha. I literally want to reread all the Harry Potters. I just reread them like maybe 2 years ago, and that was so refreshing to just be like 16 again and rereading all the Harry Potters was so amazing. Another one that I really like too, what's it called? I forget. Well, whatever. I'll post them in the comments below. But as this week, as I was kind of thinking about my musing and what I wanted to talk about, one of the big things that I get from people who don't read is they have the story, like I did, of, oh, I don't have the time to read, or like, oh, like I've had a book on my nightstand for 6 months. What's stopping you? This quote I really love by Groucho Marx. It says, I find television very educating. Every time someone turns on the set, I go into the other room and read a book. I think last month, one of the reasons I was able to accomplish 5 books being totally completed and read. One book that I'm reading right now is Treasure Island. Super fun blast from the past, a classic. But the reason I was able to read 5 books last month was because I cut out TV. I literally didn't watch TV all month. I canceled Netflix on the 1st of last month. I did not watch TV at all last month, and I still haven't watched TV this month either, I don't think. Maybe a little bit on Labor Day. But in the last 40 days, I've maybe watched 1 hour of TV. So let me tell you, my friends, by cutting out TV, even though I'm not a TV watcher, it opened up space, man. Like, maybe just set the goal of not even reading more, but just cutting out TV for a month and see what you do to fill that time. Could be a really valuable lesson. And then there's 2 other quotes that I really love. Jim Rohn said, reading is essential for those who seek to rise above the ordinary. And I think this is a really impactful quote, not because I think people who read are more high and mighty, but I feel like it's because they get the opportunity to really learn from other people's experiences, to learn from the mistakes that their heroes or their idols have been through, to learn about reading and writing and verbalization and what it actually looks and feels like to write and read a complete sentence. That can be very powerful. I've experienced working with some people as clients that I wish they would have read more, simply because I think it would have really aided them in communication in general, in forming complete sentences, in formulating their thoughts, and in getting the message across that they wish to deliver. And then the third quote that I want to share is by George R.R. Martin, and it says, a reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one. And I will be the first to admit that with a good book, I have mastered time and space, because literally I'll be laying on my bed page after page and like look up at the clock and 5 hours have passed. And I'm like, wait, did I just defeat time and space? Like, how did that even happen? What just went on? And so I would so recommend just picking up a book. It doesn't have to be any certain one. It doesn't have to look any certain way. I encourage you to just pick up a book and read it. And if 30 pages in, it's not fulfilling your soul and you freaking hate it, put that shit down and pick up another one. Don't give up on books completely, because there's got to be something out there that will fill your soul and light you up to read and give you amazing insight and energy and the excitement of either doing something fun if you're reading a fictional, like really enjoyable book, or like really curating your knowledge. Even ones that are super knowledgeable and really informative, like the Everything Story that I'm reading right now, kind of the story behind Amazon and Jeff Bezos. So enjoyable of a read, so fascinating. Ooh, another great one. Okay, so I'm like looking at my bookshelf right now. Harry Potter, so good. Twilight, also so good. Love those. I just recently read Michelle Obama's Becoming, and I freaking loved it. Like, I literally bought it and mailed it to my grandma. It was so good. For agents out there, Defeat Mega Agents is a really good book. Mindset, The Compound Effect are two of my favorite self-development books, The Compound Effect being such a powerful one. I really like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, You Are a Badass. For like fun, if you have not read Harry Potter, like that's got to go on the list, because that will transform your entire experience of reading. I feel like it's so good. And I'm trying to think of other ones, but I'll definitely link some things in the comments for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Melissa's Musings. Thanks for all the love and interaction on this one, and thanks for watching through the whole thing, Reish. I love you guys. I'll talk to you next Tuesday at noon. Bye.